but how did you meet Gary Vaynerchuk properly? How did that meeting come about? You obviously sent him an email. In his book, I've even read the book. It says, email me, Gary at VaynerMedia, and I will respond. And I'm assuming you got in early and he did respond.
Yeah, I mean, he said it so many times that it warranted taking a leap of faith. So I emailed him. He said, come along to this hotel I'll be checking out at this time. We waited in the lobby. There was a bunch of there was like a handful of other nerds there, like 4 or 5 people. They all had like flip cams and Blackberries. And so they just take little pictures of him or whatever. We got there an hour earlier. My friend Anish and Vic, we were there. We took all the camera equipment we had, a mixing board, multiple microphones, and we built basically a TV studio in his breakfast bar, in his breakfast room, a public breakfast room. And he sat, as he came in, he was like, well, you guys are serious. And I was like, yeah, man, we're serious. And then he gave us, I think, a 45-minute interview and a 30-minute interview. And that was the first creative content agency podcast back in 2008. And I think Crush It had just come out, but he hadn't even done a launch. And a few months later, he came back and we even videoed the launch. So yeah, I mean, he was making a big deal, so much of a big deal about the fact that if you email me, I'll email you back, that I had nothing to lose. And then, you know, a few years later, we launched Jab, 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 Right Hook in 2013. Yeah. And then we did the first overseas Ask Gary Vee show in 2016, which was combined with the official book launch of the Ask Gary Vee show. And yeah, both with me on stage interviewing him, and really me and him duking it out. I take pride in my ability to research people and ask questions. And you can't ask for a dude more tenacious than Gary Vee, because to ask Gary a hard question is like landing a punch on his jawline. Yeah. And as much as he's my older brother and I kind of really love the dude and respect him, when we're both on stage together, I'm trying to take him to a place that he's not been before. Yeah. Because that's how you make history, right? Rather than like, tell me about working in your dad's liquor store. I'm like, no. Tell me about what you'd rather watch.
Everyone's heard those answers. You want to ask him something different.
Yeah, like tell me, would you rather watch an episode of Daily V with your father set in 1973 or your son set in 2036?
Yeah. Yeah, you asked that very well.
That kind of shit. You know what I mean?
You did a mic drop.
That was brilliant. I remember that.
I watched that. I was like, this is so good.
It's like let's make history, man. Let's not just do, you know, when everybody else was just doing what they were doing in the DJing scene, like doing their little parties, having their road shows. I was like, nah, we're gonna take over the Gherkin. And then when everybody was like going deeper and deeper into music, I was like, no, I'm going to take everything I've learned in music and go and do conferences and start consulting and working with brands. And even like, you know, nobody was really looking at Gary. People would laugh me off the phone when I was like, yo, I'm doing something with this guy, Gary Vaynerchuk. They're like, Gary who? Fuck off. Do you know what I mean? And then you got to stick your neck out a little bit more than most people. Again, guys, it's really fucking crucial that people hear this, because as much as I'm talking all this shit, I'm really happy. I'm really happy, and I'll tell you why.
But yeah, we don't get the sense you're not happy.
because as in like, I'm saying like you got to do all this shit, but like, but people are already doing it. I'm in these little clubhouse rooms with all these little younger cats, right? And I'm so proud of the fact that these young brown boys and girls in their 20s, all right, they're talking about some stuff that I don't really rock with in some cases. But in some cases, they're talking about, you know, real shit, entrepreneurship, building businesses. You know, some of them still struggle with talking to their parents about going their own path. And that's cool. I never had that issue. I understand that that's like winning the lottery in the 80s and 90s. But, you know, I love the fact that they're like making content and they're making vlogs. Hey, I'm a management consultant. Here's how I ended up getting a job here. Or like, when I see, like, there was really nobody doing that in those days. Never mind doing it with the Wu-Tang Clan. Like people were just not jumping on camera and spitting their shit. And I think that with Asians, you know, whether it be Asians, like, how do you say it? East Asia, Southeast Asia, whatever, like basically anybody who's Asian, right? Whether you're like from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, China, Japan, Thailand, whatever, we're generally not known as being the most like brash out there people. You know what I mean?
We tend to be very conservative and within ourselves.
We tend to be conservative. We're risk averse.
Toe the straight and narrow. Don't ever go off it. Like, do the right thing. Get a secure job. Be secure. Be okay.
yeah, many of us have come from colonized economies. Many of us have come from economies where, you know, to make a living, you often end up in a service role, and some of that DNA spilled over into society and into the youth in the UK and into our parents' generation and their parents' generation. And I was like, fuck that. I'm about to do what I want to do because I've got nothing to lose. I've already missed out Christmases. I've already missed out on fucking school trips. So I've got nothing to lose. And then you got that Jay-Z and that Biggie and that Tupac in my head. And it's like, I love the fact that, okay, whereas I might have been one of the first couple of dozen boys and girls to do it, I love the fact that so many people are doing it. Guys, you motherfuckers doing it right now makes me so happy.
What, just
because you guys didn't even think twice about doing this. Like, and then thank God, because you're so young,
yeah,
you can flip open your laptop, use your webcam, use your headphones, and bada bing, you're off. And, you know, back in our day, it was some bullshit. It was really hard to A, break the mold, and then B, go and spend your real hard-earned cash to go and buy equipment and tapes, and then take those tapes in real time, wind them and encode them into a laptop. Like, so I love all this. I don't even know if my advice even still stands about having to stick your neck out, because just I'm so proud because so many young brown people are doing it already.
No, Raj. No. I can't emphasize this enough. Yeah. It still stands, man. I'm telling you. Like, I need to tell you a bit about you, where you changed my life. So, do you remember when you were putting tickets on for Vayner World? You put it on Facebook, and you were pumping it. And I was looking at it, and I was like, I did the same thing that all those people did to you on the phone. I was like, who's this Gary guy? Like, nah, man, I'm not into that. And I was like, do I go? Do I not go? I messaged Bauer. I said, do I go? He's like, yeah, maybe you can go. And I was like, you know what? Nah, leave it. It's not for me. And then I remember I reached out to you a few months later, and I was like, Raj, I'm not feeling good. I'm not feeling great about work. I'm inspired by you and how you do things. Tell me how you do things. And you took me through that perfect day example, right? You said, tell me about your perfect day. And then you wrote down all these attributes about me that I didn't even know I had, right? And I was like, shit, I've got all these attributes and I didn't even know I had them. And you said, you know what? Watch this clip. It will change your fucking life. I watched Vayner World and I had more questions than actual answers. Like, it didn't change my life a little bit, but it opened my eyes to the potential of the world. And I was like, all right, I've sat there pondering for years. What's the thing to do? I've messed around with a few things. And now I really enjoy this podcasting thing with Garen. And it's just worked out well. But it's all because I had that conversation with you and I had that accessibility through Bal to talk to you about these things. And that helped me a lot. But people need to hear this, because even though the barrier to entry is low, people's self-esteem, I've noticed, is getting lower and lower. And they feel scared to take a leap into this space and do something like that, because what's this person going to think? What's that person going to think? Are my parents okay with it, etc.? Like, all those things still stand. And I think it is important to keep on emphasizing it and drilling it to people, because that's what Gary does, right? He keeps on drilling it to people, saying, don't care about what other people think, etc. It's the same message on loop. And some people say to me, why does he keep saying the same fucking thing? I'm like, because people need to keep on fucking hearing it. Like, you may not hear it for you now because it's not applicable for you, but in 3 years' time it might be. So yeah,
I disagree with that.
The best bit of advice I've heard from Gary, I listen to a lot of Gary's content, and it didn't really resonate with me until I kind of got to the point I was telling you earlier, Raj, about the burnout and doing like loads of different things, like trying to be in property, you know, coaching, having a podcast, doing content, trying to do everything basically, plus being a doctor. Is this example he gives about micro and macro. I still, in my coaching business now, I use it all the time. And he says, look, you know, day to day, micro, you got to go ham. And that's kind of what I'm hearing from you, that, you know, there's 24/7 days. But he said, macro, there's got to be patience. Because I know when I got into that, you know, my kind of entrepreneurship, it was thinking that success is going to be exponential. And then it didn't come straight away. And I was like, okay, so why isn't it coming? And then I had that, and it just resonated me so hard. And I was just like, okay, you just need to trust the process. And like you said, that hamster wheel, the 22 things and the bicycle chain, and eventually things fall into place and you start being around the right circles, you start networking with the right people. What I love about your story though is it's different. Your story is almost, you had like conscious awareness at the time you were doing things, and you had foresight and intuition to be like, this is really important. I know it's really important. I don't care who else knows. And you have this conviction, which I think a lot of people lack. And I think, you know, I think it's Steve Jobs says this thing about how opportunity comes from behind and whispers in your ear. It doesn't come right in front of you, and you can't connect the dots looking for it, only when they look back. But you trusted the process so much, and now it sounds like you're at a good place in your life where you're retrospective, you're introspective, and you can look at this and reflect on like, shit, man, I did what I want when I wanted, and I had the conviction of knowing it. It doesn't sound like you kind of just went out on a whim. Correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds like you had a goal and you kind of knew it was going to go, and you took massive action, man. And I love it. I think it's really, really inspiring.
I think I might be able to summarize it even simpler than that, right? Okay, this is really important. I don't give a fuck.
That's straight. That's it.
Like, you got to bear in mind, I grew up with very little. I grew up with love, 3 meals a day, and that's about it. And a shop that I could work in as much as I wanted to. And thank God I took to entrepreneurship like every other man in my family. The generation above me, the generation above them, the generation. I don't get, what the fuck have I got to lose by doing a party in the Gherkin? What the fuck have I got to lose by asking Gary Vee to let me interview him? What the fuck have I got to lose by working with, Russell or the Wu-Tang Clan or Dynamo? What the fuck have I got to lose? In 2010, bro, I was 30 years old. I'd already exited a company in Los Angeles that sold for millions of dollars to The Guardian. And I was sleeping in a converted living room in a single bed with all my possessions and the videos on the internet. I have nothing
To lose.
nothing to lose. It's motherfucking ride or die. Like, what the fuck have I got to lose? Nothing. Just fuck it, man. I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't care. What the fuck have I got to lose? Nothing. You want to see my crib now? It's crazy. This was all waiting for me. This shit was all waiting for me. But had I hesitated or had I tried to over-rationalize it, and I did do sometimes I'd over-rationalize, like I wasn't ready to do the Wu-Tang Clan project until DJ Friction pushed me past the 99% mark and made me do it. I wasn't ready to start my own crew in Manchester until this guy, DJ Ahmed, forced me to do it. I'm not saying that I can put enough fuel in my tank to make it the whole journey, but I can go so far that I'm so freaking close that somebody will recognize it in me and be like, you'd be stupid if you stop now, bro. And now I live like fantasy life. And I'm, by the way, if you are a average junior banker in the city of London, you're doing way better than I'm doing. I'm not a man of wealth, but from what I hear, on your deathbed, it's about how much time you were in control of in your life.
Yeah.
How many experiences you were able to have.
Absolutely.
And if you've got any regrets. And I can tell you right now that whether I die with an unlimited black card in my pocket or I die with nothing. Guys, do you know how much free time I've had since graduating my master's? I've basically controlled
hardly any.
I've controlled, but as in the sense that I've worked all the time by choice.
Correct.
But the canvas that is the schedule that society creates for me has been empty. I want to go work for a company in Los Angeles, off I go. I want to move to Canada, off I go. I want to go to Bali for a month and work from there, off I go. I want to work flat out every single day, Christmas, New Year's, and end up in hospital, off I go. Right decision, wrong decision, doesn't matter.
Your decision.
It's my decision. I had full control of my time. Like, I am 40 years old. The vast majority of my adult life since hustling, I haven't set my alarm before I go to bed. Do you know what that means to wake up?
That means all you do.
You're a doctor. Maybe you can tell me, what does it mean to wake up naturally? Nowadays, it's 5 days out of 7. But what does it mean to wake up naturally on average in the last 2 decades? Probably 82% of my waking mornings. That shit's good for you, bro.
It's the best medicine. That's all I can say, right? But, I like what you're touching on here. And Raj, I don't know if you do this as one of your other hustles, because you're clearly a very talented guy, but I'm in the coaching space. And I started thought it was like a life coach. That was too broad. I didn't really understand my niche. I then started trying to be a business coaching, didn't like that. And I kind of fell into what I do now, which is work with essentially burnt out doctors and professionals, bankers, lawyers, to give them authenticity, or how to live authentically. This is my whole MO. If you hang around with Indy, he'll tell you. Actually, Indy and his missus, right? They're quite mean to me. They play current bingo. So Indy creates, like, he edits all my content, he shoots all my content. He's in all my clubhouse rooms. Obviously, we podcast together as well. So anytime I'm speaking about authentic living and, you know, how to live the life you want to live, these guys sit there and they write down words that I say, and they'd say, "Yeah, bing, bing." He's saying that same shit again. Live your best life, whatever, right? But what I love is I got a real example right here of somebody who understands that the real asset in life is time, but also you're giving the attention to the time that you create. So you're doing whatever you want by choice. And people ask me all the time, Jazz or Karan, what is your definition of success? And you are answering that for me, which is freedom. Freedom and choice. Do what you want, when you want, with whoever you want. And it sounds like you've cracked that formula, but it's come from a place where you've just had so many vast and varied experiences. And now you've got this wealth of wisdom and you're doing what you want. And I think that's beautiful. And I think when people ask, you know, where is happiness going to come from? Where's contentment going to come from? Whereas this is it. This is finding what you love and your passion, like you said, but actually be able to execute on it as well.